the Mariners supporters, blows his whistle. George Moncur steps up and scores! Bottom corner of the net, the goalkeeper was very close, and it's John. He lets in a low cross, and a Smith turn in, and now the Lions are back on level terms. He'll come to James, he shoots! Oh, and a goal from Tom James! That was a volley, and that was... It's a low cross, it's an inviting cross, and it's been turned in by Theo Archibald, and he celebrates in front of the travelling faithful.
With the O's still top of the League Two table, and they're looking to bounce back at the first time of asking following last Saturday's defeat against Newport, and we're going to be bringing you every single second of it live right here on Orient Live. And the O's are facing Doncaster this afternoon, and I'm absolutely delighted to be bringing you a dream team this afternoon of the London football scene, journalist Brendan Pitcher and the man he named his cat after, Jabbo Abire. That's a true story. I'm not sure if Jabbo knew that one, but welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And it is a big one as well, Brendan. Hopefully the O's can bounce back at the first time of asking. We haven't been in this situation yet this season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the team bounces back, because obviously last weekend was disappointing. I don't think it was the worst performance. I think any Orient fan that watched the game thought we dominated, we had plenty of possession. It was just 5 mad minutes where we let the game get away from us, and Newport did well to sit in and kind of time waste and see out the game, which they did very well. So yeah, chance to bounce back and a good opposition to do it against, I think, in Doncaster.
Mentally, how big is it to overcome that first hurdle? You know, we've done all of our scoring your first goals, obviously win your first game, ticking all that off, but then to try and see that character, how big is that mentally?
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, they've done ever so well so far this season, and this is another question that's being asked, and you know they would want to go and answer it for the first time round of doing it. So it'd be such a big mental boost if they go and get the result today, because Doncaster are a good side, and you know they do well at home, and it'd be a great test. And I think, you know, we'll see what they're made of.
Well, you certainly will, and Richie has opted for a couple of changes, maybe to keep things fresh, who knows. But let's take a look at the starting lineup for the O's this afternoon. In goal, as always, of course, is number 22, Lawrence Vigouroux. In at right back, number 2, Tom James. Number 5 at centre back is Dan Happy. Little number 7 is Paul Smith. And also on the wing is number 11, Theo Archibald. We've got that consistent midfield three of number 14, George Moncur, 15, Idris El Mazouni, and 18, Captain Darren Pratley. Number 16, Aaron Drinan replaces Charlie Kelman in the front row, with number 19, Omar Beckles partnering Dan Happy at the back, and number 32, Rob Hunt also returns, replacing Jaden Sweeney. And on the bench for the O's, Sam Sargent, Shadrach Oji, Craig Clay, Ruel Sotiriou, Jordan Brown, Jaden Wareham, and Charlie Kelman. So just the 2 changes, Brendan. Richie's obviously keeping things consistent still, but do you think that's just to freshen things up and maybe get a reaction?
Yeah, I think he said after the Newport game that he probably wishes he'd freshened it up a little bit earlier. And I think if you're going back to maybe before the Grimsby game, before the first game of the season, if Richie was going to say what was his, when everyone's fit, what's his first starting 11 on paper, and I think it would be pretty similar to that, because we all know how highly he rates Aaron Drinan, and Rob Hunt is someone he trusts and knows well. So it's an experienced lineup with players that he trusts and knows, and hopefully it'll be enough to get the job done today.
There's a lot of familiarity across the pitch still, of course. You know, the spine and the core of that midfield especially. This is still very much a team that have just created history, and a very good side as well. Are you confident in the boys today? Yeah, they haven't let us down all so far this season. Like I said, every question they've been asked, they've answered it. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And like Brendan alluded to this just there, saying, you know, just arguably maybe his favourable team on paper if he had everyone fit. And you know, they all play together. There's a nice spine there, and having Aaron Drinan in there, firing ready. He's been waiting for this chance. You know, let's see. Well, we'll come on to Drinan, but let's start with Rob Hunt. You've already touched on him there, Brendan, but Rich obviously really does rate him, but I don't think it's any slight on Jaden Sweeney. He's been fantastic, but as you say, it's maybe just a slightly older, more experienced right back in, or left back, sorry, in that back four. Yeah,
no slight at all on Jaden Sweeney. He's been excellent so far, but I think what you get with Rob Hunt is he's that kind of just consistent 7 out of 10 player that you hardly notice a lot of the time, just because he's doing his job well, and it really complements Tom James on the other side, because he's not going to bomb forward like Tom James is, but he just holds his position, keeps things ticking over, and I think he combines well with Paul Smith down that side as well. So I think it's a change in terms of just kind of going away from home when we're on the back of a defeat, just bringing a little bit more experience and a little bit more know-how.
And if you look at the Newport game last last Saturday. It was uncharacteristic from us this season. The goals we conceded weren't pretty to watch back. They'll be hoping to cut that out this week and make sure there isn't a repeat of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think they would have, I'd imagine, watched the video back and looked at certain patterns and scenarios that took place in the game. I'm sure on the training ground they would have been definitely ironing it out, and they're going to put it right, because it was a bit unusual to what we've seen so far this season. But I'm sure they've, he would have laid down the marker today and then just roll out to the boys, go and show me what you're about today.
Well, they'll need to show Richie what they are about, and Aaron Drinan, I'm sure Richie will be hoping he can continue scoring, but still not sure if that was his goal last Saturday. But he's a player we know a lot about, and him leading the line, it really suits a Wellens team, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, like we said about Jaden Sweeney missing out, I don't think it's any slight on Charlie Kelman. I think the goals have dried up slightly for him recently, so obviously Aaron Drinan, like I've said, we know how highly Richie rates him, gave him a new contract in the summer despite not being out of contract, so that shows that he's a key man that he thinks can lead this front line. He presses well, he runs the channels, and I think if he can just add a little bit more kind of clinical finish into his game like we're seeing here, if he can take the chances every time they come to him, he can easily be a League One Championship player. I think that's just the only thing he's missing at the minute, is that kind of composure. There were times last season certainly where I thought he missed a few chances that he could have scored. So yeah, I think it's a big day for Aaron Drinan, because I think he would have come into this season expecting that he was going to be the first choice striker, and unfortunately that injury that he picked up in pre-season robbed him of that, and the way that Charlie Kelman started the season robbed him of that. So yeah, big afternoon for him. He can come in off the back of the dubious goal he scored last Saturday and hopefully make a difference there.
Hopefully so, and he's more than just a striker, Jabbo. He runs and he presses, and he's so crucial to the way that we play. I mean, I can't remember if you did that much running as yourself as a striker back in the day, but he does offer that. And how important is that for a striker to do for his team? Yeah,
it's amazing when you've got an attacker who doesn't just hold the ball and score goals. He can actually run as well. I mean, it is great, because you're the first defender basically. You set the pace, you start going. Your midfielders behind you start going. So it's nice to have that person back in the team, and especially in the situation now after our first defeat, it's good to have him back in there. Perfect time.
Is that a compliment to Gary as well? Gary Alexander for doing all your running back in the day. But it does allow the other attackers a bit more freedom as well. And when you've got Theo Archibald and Paul Smith out in the wide areas, that should cause any team trouble at this level. Yeah,
definitely. I think Paul Smith has got another Player of the Month nomination. He's been fantastic recently. I think probably maybe our best player this season so far. And obviously Theo Archibald has been really impressive recently. Some of the deliveries he's put in is probably quite unfortunate. He hasn't got maybe more assists or more goals because things just haven't quite been pulling off for him in terms of shots being saved or putting great balls into the box that either the strikers aren't putting away or they're just evading the strikers. So yeah, big players for us, and obviously Aaron Drinan with what he does in terms of pulling into the channels and things like that, moving defenders about, allows more space for those players, especially when they're cutting in from the left and right hand sides.
And Theo also slotted in at left back last week when we were chasing the game. It was an attacking move, which I suppose it's a good option to have. You don't want to be in that situation, but then the options you've got on the bench as well, and all the players, I think we finished the game with 4 or 5 attackers all on the pitch in various positions, but that flexibility and firepower we've got in the ranks is really promising.
Yeah, it was a big debate last season, wasn't it, where best to play Theo and whether he was a wing back or a winger. I think he's proven under Richie that he is better as a winger, but like you say, when you're down and you're chasing the game, to have an attacking option like Theo and Tom James on the other side to just kind of get the ball and deliver from deep is a really, really good option to have, and it was quite unfortunate it didn't work out against Newport. Like I said, he put in a number of great balls. They were just kind of missing the players in the box, or the players in the box weren't quite getting their shots off well enough.
I'm not sure if you thought it was a goal for Drinan last week, but Kelman scored a few, but we haven't really had a striker that's been banging them in. The goals have been coming from all over the park, all from open play. If we can add a striker that is going to score every week into that team as well, how dangerous could it be if Drizzy could refine his form from last season?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially if you're going for promotion and the best bits of the top of the table. I mean, you want someone who's scoring, is in a good groove and everything like that. I think Kelman's done well, and he's sort of proven that he's reliable, and when asked upon, he can do a good job. And then I think between the two of them, you know, if it's Drinan's turn now to get into his rhythm, you know, can you start it with plenty of goals and get into that rhythm that you had last season? It'd be fantastic, and it'd take us to another level, because we've been good and we've been scoring from various positions, but having a striker is in that rich vein of form, it'd be wonderful.
It would, and if we were to get that started today, where do you think the O's are going to have some joy and hopefully score some goals against this Doncaster side?
Yeah, I think looking at the data, I think Doncaster are pretty poor from open play in terms of their defensive side. I think they've conceded the most shots from open play in the division and conceded the second most goals in the division. Only Hartlepool have conceded more, and we saw how we tore Hartlepool apart in August. So I think it bodes well for us. Like you said earlier, we haven't scored a goal from set pieces so far, so that doesn't really matter in terms of the fact that Doncaster are quite good at defending set pieces, and from open play we know how dangerous we can be, and we can really kind of expose the fact that they've got a few injuries in that back line, they've got a few injuries all over the pitch. I think Gary McSheffrey, their manager, is under a bit of pressure after losing to Hartlepool in midweek, and I think it's a case of today, if we get an early goal, it's going to be massive, because Doncaster's fans aren't happy at the minute. They're going to start the game rolled up, perhaps turning that anger at Richie Wellens, who obviously didn't do so well with them last season. But if we can get that opening goal, then I think it could turn quite hostile against their own team. So I think an early goal could be massive today.
Well, we will come on to Doncaster very shortly. Thank you, Brendan. And as you mentioned, Richie Wellens is facing his former side in Doncaster Rovers. Let's hear his thoughts ahead of the match, and as well as Paul Smith too.
Back to a former club in Doncaster. What kind of side are we facing this weekend?
It's difficult because he changed quite regularly the way that he play. Sometimes he'd play out against Hartlepool. The other night he didn't play any football. So no, it's a club that obviously I'm really fond of. I had some great memories as a player. But the club that I left as a player and went back as a manager is a totally different football club. You know, so my memories of Doncaster will be always fantastic football team led by John Ryan, who was a brilliant chairman. Sean O'Driscoll, for me, left a legacy at the football club of a way of playing. We've probably be its greatest ever team. You know, and Sean left that legacy to go, but that legacy's disappeared now.
Yeah, just one of those blips we had on Saturday. It's just one of those games everyone has during the season. I think we started off unbelievable start of the season, so a big good game, good test. They're doing well, so and so are we.
I guess it was always going to come, that defeat. So looking at the positives we can take from it, maybe a bit of a wake up call and everyone's going to keep those standards high.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we played bad. We created, if you look at the stats, I think we're so dominant in the game from start to finish, and just couldn't make that clear-cut chance to put the ball in the back of the net. We eventually got a goal, but it was just a bit too late, and kept pushing and just couldn't unlock the door. So
going into the weekend, looking at your squad, is there any kind of injury news?
No, I've got too many, so it's difficult. We've got everybody fit, and there's probably Ant Giorgio who's still not fit, and Dan Raccoon is obviously returning from a long-term injury. But Duke McKenna's making really good progress. But other than that, Hunt is now back. Thompson's back in the squad. So we'll take 20 up. We'll make a call on. Well, it's not easy leaving 2 out because everybody deserves to play at the moment. But we just have to keep going, you know. And as soon as the starting 11 drop off it, then there's 8 or 9 players ready to take the place.
I think you're unlucky not to get your 5th of the season against Newport. But as a whole, this season, you know, you look really sharp. You are contributing with goals and assists. So would you say this is kind of the best you've seen yourself in an Orient shirt?
Yeah, 100%. Last year was one of the worst years I've ever had in football in general, with injuries and coming back and getting injured again. So I've just had a target this season, is just to play. It's literally my target. I don't care about goals, don't care about assists. If I get them, it's a bonus. So I'm just hoping I play every game and contribute as much as I can, and hopefully I can just continue on the form I'm in.
Obviously, injuries are a big part of football, and every player's going to get them at some point or another. But in terms of like the mental side of things, do you feel like that's kind of made you a bit harder now?
Yeah, 100%. It's made me look at things differently as well, just like outside of football, how to recover in certain things, and sometimes you need to do the right thing for yourself, and that's what I probably wasn't doing when I was last season, and now I'm more focused on myself and getting myself to being 100% every single Saturday and every Tuesday, every time I play, and that's what I feel like I'm doing right now.
Some Smithy magic would be more than welcome this afternoon. And of course, don't forget, if you're watching on live on YouTube, make sure you head over to our website to pick up your streaming pass. You can watch along. If you're an international fan or UK fans, you can listen along with Dave and Matt too. But now let's take a look at the home side and their lineup for this afternoon's fixture. So in Gary McSheffrey's Doncaster Rovers, we have at number 1 Jonathan Mitchell in goal, number 2 Kyle Noyle, number 3 James Maxwell, number 6 Roshan Williams, 7 Luke Molyneux, number 8 the captain Adam Clayton, number 14 Harrison Biggins, number 21 Kyle Hurst, number 22 Kieran Agard, number 28 Bobby Faulkner, and number 33 Ben Close. And on the bench for Donny is Louis Jones, Adam Long, Aidan Barlow, Rio Griffiths, Max Waltman, Charlie Seaman, and Liam Ravenman. So there is the Doncaster Rovers lineup. And you touched on them briefly, Brendan. What are you expecting from this Donny side today?
Yeah, I think when you look at that lineup there, there's a lot of very good individuals and probably a lot of players that are on quite a good wage for League Two level, but they've underperformed so far. I think their fans are getting a little bit restless because they are a big club for the division, and the fact they're in 9th is probably a bit below their expectations. So I think they're very much a side this season that are a little bit disjointed. They've got, like I said, a number of good individuals, people like Kieran Agard, Roshan Williams, Adam Clayton, all players that have played at a higher level, and then players like Luke Molyneux and Ben Close, who are at a good age for the level and doing well. So I think it's a case of they probably haven't quite gelled yet, and that's why the pressure is on Gary McSheffrey, because I know, looking at the fan sentiment on Twitter, it seems like a lot of them are quite unhappy with the management there at the minute.
Well, if you consider that, we said it after the Newport game, Jabbo, that teams will look at us not as a free hit, but almost the pressure's maybe off them a little bit, considering the start we've had and being top of the table. Do you think that might play into Doncaster's favour a bit today, potentially?
I think a lot rising. There's, you know, like the fact that Rich Wellens going back there, Orient we just lost, so there's a lot riding on the games. There's some good intensity today, and I feel that, you know, the pressure is slightly off, but then Doncaster, you know, they've got to try and get the result, and they're going to feel that Orient have just lost. We can capitalise on it. So the pressure is on them, to be fair, because, you know, you're at home, they've just lost. Rich Wellens is back in town. The Sheffrey's going to be like, you know, you need to get the result and things like that. So I think the pressure's going to be on Doncaster today. And
there's a familiar face for you in there, and one that you've singled out today. Is it Kyle Noyle that you think we should maybe have to be a bit wary of? Yeah, I mean, he's a good fullback, especially for this division. You know, he's got good delivery, as you can see there. He's dynamic. He drives with the ball. Sometimes he likes to cut and have a couple of shots, but he can stand you up, because to have the right composure, to play the right pass at the right time, and is a good threat. And just the previous game, he's got 2 assists, so he's in a good bit of form at the moment as well. And we obviously saw some of the goals we conceded, or the one goal from the set piece that we conceded. When you've got a delivery like that on the pitch, that our back line are going to have to be very wary about some of the balls into the box. Yeah, definitely, and you know, you want to kind of put to bed some of those skeletons from the previous game, so you've got to kind of be on it and stop his product at source, basically, and be on him and close the gap, and don't give him that room to be able to get his head up and put a decent ball into the box. And a couple of other key players are missing for them as well, Brendan. Probably a good thing for the O's, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've got a few defensive injuries, which is good because they're not particularly great defensively as it is, like I mentioned. And I think it's a case of today where Richie Wellens against his former club, there's been a lot made of it, and I think he's spoken about it. But I think a plus side from an Orient point of view is that there's still quite a few Doncaster players there that he worked with. So he'll know their strengths inside out. He'll know where their weaknesses can be exploited, and that's could be the difference today.
How big do you think it could be with Richie going back? I know we've spoken about it a little bit, but it was a strange period he spent there last season in the early stages, but do you think there's been a bit of love lost there, or?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what reception he gets, because he was, by all accounts, a legend there as a player. He was part of what's widely regarded as their best ever team that reached the championship. But then he came back last summer as the manager, and things didn't go to plan. We've all heard him speak about how he probably didn't do as well as he expected, but also there are external factors at play there. But the Donny fans kind of, by all accounts, seem like reading social media, and seem like that place a lot of the blame on Wellens. So be interested to see what reception he gets, because I think it will be mixed, because some will probably regard him quite highly as a player, but not so as a manager, and some people might just think of his role as a manager, which ultimately led to them getting relegated last season.
We're talking about their relegation and the pressure on their manager, but they're, I think, 9th in the table. Newport weren't in great form when we played them. If teams turn up, they could very well still cause us trouble.
Yeah, of course, and that's this league as well. You can't take your eye off the prize. You've got to earn the right to play, and then your form and your confidence grows, and then your quality will show. So today we have to earn that right. We can't sort of think we're top of the league and it's just we're going to get the result because we've been doing really well. We have to earn that right today and silence them from the start, because they're not. They haven't hit their groove yet, Doncaster, and they're not where they thought they would be. So we need to just be on the front foot early and quiet that crowd down.
No, we certainly do, and it's a massive game with the O's looking to bounce back. But we're going to look one further, and next Saturday Northampton travel to E10, and that is a massive fixture. And if you're in the UK, make sure you head over to the website on screen now to pick up your ticket to get down to E10 and get behind the boys. The game is fast approaching a sellout, so make sure you grab your ticket now. Or of course, international fans, you can watch along here on Orient Live by picking up a streaming pass on the website that is on screen now. But now let's remind ourselves of how the O's are going to be lining up as they look to bounce back against Doncaster this afternoon. In goal for the O's is number 22 Lawrence Vigouroux, in at right back number 2 Tom James, in at centre back number 5 Dan Happy, in number 7 Paul Smith, and on the other wing number 11 Theo Archibald. In the midfield it is number 14 George Moncur, 15 Idris El Mazouni, and the captain 18 Darren Prattley. Leading the line, replacing Charlie Kelman, is number 16 Aaron Drinan. Partnering Dan Happy is number 19 Omar Beckles, and replacing Jaden Sweeney is number 32 Rob Hunt. And on the bench for the O's is Sam Sargent, Shadrach OG, Craig Clay, Royal Satiriou, Jordan Brown, Jaden Wareham and Charlie Kelman. So there's how the boys in blue are lining up this afternoon. And we've spoken about Paul Smith's nomination for the Player of the Month award. Lawrence Vigouroux was also included in that. He maybe dropped the ball a little bit last Saturday with the penalty he gave away, but he'll be hoping to maybe keep racking up those clean sheets, because aside from a couple of penalties, he's been flawless.
Yeah, like you say, he's conceded 3 penalties, he's saved 2. Last weekend was the only time he hadn't made up for that error, and I think he'll be kicking himself, because I think we all know the character that Lawrence is. He's so determined and really feels it when he makes a mistake, but that should only make him more determined today to get another clean sheet, because I think he has been, like you said, the penalties outside, he's been outstanding this season, and I hope today could be the start of another run of clean sheets like he had throughout the whole of September.
And do you think maybe the O's will, with the reintroduction of Rob Hunt and maybe Lawrence, as you said, getting the skeletons out from last Saturday, maybe hopefully a bit more of a settled defence? And how big would a clean sheet be today for the O's?
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. I think it is a tough place to go, and I think keeping that clean sheet and then sort of trying to sort of nick something at the other end would be massive confidence for everyone, and it's a good match to be in. And I think if we get the right result today, it will increase the confidence even more so, because it's a great place to go and get a result.
How crucial is it that we do that as early as possible, because it's an absolutely humongous month coming up. We've mentioned Northampton, we've got Salford, and it is, there's a lot of fixtures in there, and the good start will mean nothing if we can't get this run going again.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be looking to put that game behind us against Newport. I think it was just a blip. The performance was still very good, and I think we should bounce back today. Like I said, I think the first goal going to be absolutely massive. If we can turn this Doncaster crowd against their team, then I think it could be quite a comfortable afternoon for us.
I'm unbeaten on the road still, Jebbo. We've only dropped points away to Swindon. The O's have looked good on the road, maybe even better than we've looked at home.
Yeah, you could argue that, because I think the game, what I've really enjoyed this season, just the game management. You know, when they've been in front, or there's times when they're under pressure, they're under the cosh a bit, they just seem to, like the different leaders show up on the pitch, and they just seem to do the right thing at the right moment. So I'm quietly confident, but I just want us to just be at it though. I don't want us to react. I want us to be active from the start and be on it, and then hopefully be a comfortable afternoon.
Hopefully it will be indeed, and we saw them nearly ready up in Doncaster to take entrance to the pitch. So we are going to hand over to our very capable hands of Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
Show will start soon. Please stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. Your matchday commentary show will start soon. Please stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. Your matchday commentary show will start soon. Please stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. Your matchday commentary show will start soon. Please stay tuned.